Hey kids, it's Old Man Shouting at Clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders Show.
Hey GT, what are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Hey kids, welcome back to another episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% impartial, thoroughly unbiased, and completely kerfuzzled co-host, Old Man Shouting at Clouds. With me, as usual, is MJ.
Hey, how's it going? I just slid in by the skin of our teeth to win against the Elks.
Yes, there we go. And GT.
Hey, how is everybody? I have absolutely no notes, so we're completely winging it this week.
Yes, that's why I am your thoroughly confused and confuddled co-host. I was just telling the folks here on the show until 10 minutes ago, I thought it was Monday. So we're fairly unprepared, but we're going to get through it as best we can and hopefully still provide you some entertainment for your non-dollar. So we're going to start off. GT, you said you might have a Mea Culpa this week.
We're sorry, so sorry.
I did, and you actually corrected me last week, old man, while we were talking, and I ran right over top of you. So that's my first Mea Culpa. Apologies for that. And secondly, yes, I know that when you're on the 6-game injury list, the team still has to pay you. But in my overzealous feelings about Rogers, I let that go and ran right to it. So yeah, I will try to remain where I don't let my personal resentment against that corporation cloud my factual judgment going forward.
Okay, so the bullhorns are off tonight then? Okay, thank you very much. And as for running over me, don't worry about it. That's what we do. This is just talking football, and sometimes it gets a little bit rambunctious. But we don't have a lot of news to talk about tonight, but a couple of things that we figured we'd maybe discuss a bit before we got into the actual game recaps or analysis, whatever the heck it is we do. And the first thing is MJ apparently has been dusting off the history books and has something she wants to tell us about.
Yeah, I just want to talk about Craig Baird has an account and a podcast called Canadian History X. And if you don't know about it, it's on all the major platforms. It's a podcast. And he does Canadian history every day. I'm sure, does at least 10 different pieces of history of Canada and people and events and different things. So today, or was it yesterday? Today, he was writing about the Grey Cup and some interesting teams that have won the Grey Cup over the years. Craig, every once in a while, will throw a little tidbit. Like he's done, I wrote some down. He did a whole series on the U.S. expansion. He did one about the history of the Grey Cup itself. He did one on Warren Moon. He's done one on Herb Triac, the first Black player in 1946. So he just does these things every once in a while. He'll just drop them in. So this week was teams that have won the Grey Cup that you may not have known about. There's different ones like from Sarnia and different little teams from the rugby union. And my favorite one that he was talking about was, get ready for it, the Toronto Balmy Beach Beachers, who have been to the Grey Cup 4 times and have won it twice. Once in 1927 against the Hamilton Tigers, and one in 1930 against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I was going to say, that sounds like another team that wears green.
Yes. Hey, you got me. I didn't know the Roughriders had been to the Grey Cup before, what was it, in the 60s anyway.
Yeah. Beachers were in existence under what is it called? The Canadian Rugby Union?
Yes.
From 1924 to 1957. So the CFL was formed in 1958 properly when they got away with it. So from 1958 on, only professional teams could compete in the Grey Cup. But it did start in 1909 with the Canadian Rugby Union when amateur teams could compete. If you want to get into how the West teams used to have to travel to the East because they did not play for the Grey Cup out on the West, and there was like drama about teams coming out, and I guess the first time Calgary played in the Grey Cup, that's when they brought all their like gear, all their rodeo gear, and they caused the drama, and that's kind of how the Grey Cup celebrations started. But yes, the Toronto Balmy Beach Beachers. I am going to write the Argos and ask. Somebody posted this on Blue Sky, and I thought it was a great idea. If the Argos could do a Balmy Beach Beachers theme just for one game in 2027 to celebrate their 100th anniversary of winning the Grey Cup.
That'd be good.
But I imagine they must have been competing against the Argos, because
Yes.
the Argos say they've been around for 150 years or something.
Yeah, that's correct. There was actually 3 teams from Toronto in those early days playing for the Grey Cup. There were the Argonauts, there were the Beachers, and of course it was University of Toronto, because most of the university teams also played for the Grey Cup.
Right.
The University of Toronto, in fact, won the very first Grey Cup. During the 100th anniversary, the 100th year, or the 100th Grey Cup, not the 100th anniversary, but the 100th Grey Cup year in 2012, they did a terrific job. The league actually did a really terrific job of bringing out a lot of that history. And the original field where the 1912 Grey Cup was played, the first Grey Cup was played, is called Rosedale Field. And they staged an event with a game at Rosedale Field during the week of Grey Cup and unveiled a new plaque commemorating it and so on. So there's actually a lot of really cool history there as well.
I'm going to have to look into that. This is all new to me. Sorry, MJ, what did you say the podcast was called that you got this from?
It's called Canadian History X, like EHX, like AX.
I'll make sure I've got it right, and I'll put it in the show notes, too. One wants to go out and check it out.
I just wanted to, as an aside, I wanted to carry on with the 100th anniversary. Did either of you go on the Grey Cup train? Did it come to your city?
Not mine.
It did. Let me think, where was I? No, I was here in Toronto, so it was definitely here, but I did not have the opportunity to get down to the train itself. I did almost everything else that week, but I didn't get to the train proper, no.
I was living in Vancouver at the time, and they had it downtown, and it was great.
Yeah.
So every car had one car was set up as like a locker room, and then they had different cars had different history things. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They did such a great job with that Grey Cup train.
Yeah.
It's good to hear the CFL doing something good. We're always on them about their marketing. That sounds great. I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah. Now, I've been a long-time subscriber to Canadian History X. Craig is really, really good. It's a lot of fun, and he does a really great job. I highly recommend it if you're at all into any kind of Canadian history. It's light, but it's so informative, and they're half an hour to 40 minutes max, and then he does the little sub-notes on Blue Sky where you can just read them in 5 to 10 minutes, and it's really terrific.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check that out. Because at this point, I know a little bit about back then, but very little, actually. And the only thing I can probably contribute to the conversation here is that I suspect if the Riders were playing, I think you said in 1928, that they weren't wearing green.
That's right.
Have I ever shared with you the story of why the Riders wear green, the iconic green that is associated with the whole province and everything?
Mm-hmm. I know the story. I'm not sure whether you do.
Yeah, okay.
I don't.
Okay, yeah. The owner, that they got them, I believe it was 1949. The owner was going through Chicago. They needed a set of uniforms, and he found some green ones on sale. So they bought them. And that has grown into the legacy of green that's there these days. I just love that.
I wish they had some of these jerseys available. Like I want a Balmy Beach Beachers jersey.
Yeah. There is a company down in the States that does retro jerseys, but they don't do any of the old CFL ones that I know of. I think they might do some from the U.S. expansion. I'm trying to remember.
These are just like rugby stripes. Like, it's not really exciting, but
yeah, it'll still be interesting though. Yeah, I'll try. I can't remember the name. I'll see if I can get it up and put that in the show notes too. I know that Joe and Oz on the Rouge, White, and Blue are sponsored by these guys, and
Royal Retros.
That's their whole thing. Pardon me?
Royal Retros.
Royal Retros. That's it. Thank you for once again saving my failing memory.
GT, is that where you got your Sacramento hat from?
No, actually,
or is that an OG?
That's an OG. As is this Memphis Mad Dog T-shirt.
Oh.
Look at that!
I had that with That's another one of my things where there was a year where I went out and got as much US stuff as I could. And then every game I wore it to a different, and I still do that. Okay.
Yep.
Just wear different stuff. So it's a conversation piece.
For sure.
On TSN this weekend, they were talking about the fact that there's only been, I think they said 4 quarterbacks that have thrown for over 6,000 yards in a season. And one of them was Jeffrey Archer from the U.S. expansion.
That's right.
Can't remember, he was with Sacramento at the time or one of the other teams. But
yeah, he was a gold miner. And just as a quick aside, he started as a gold miner, ended up as an Eskimo, and I believe finished in Edmonton, but he might have gone to Toronto or Hamilton after that. I'm not 100% sure. For some reason, I think he ended up ended his career with Edmonton, and then did color broadcasting as well. And at one of the Grey Cups, I ended up sitting like this first year at Sacramento, 94. The Grey Cup was in Calgary, if I remember correctly. And he was there after they got eliminated, and I ended up sitting behind him. And he was just a great guy. He just he talked to all the fans. He was really popular, and he was a really good quarterback, David Archer. Really good quarterback.
I do remember that. He also got in trouble one time for calling Canadians Americans and then doubled down on it and saying, well, it's North America, so we're really all Americans, which didn't gain him a lot of extra points. No. Anyway, that's our trip down history lane for now. The only other thing we were going to talk just a little bit about was the running game right now in the league this season. And I was going to have a bunch of statistics all ready to queue up after MJ suggested we talk about this and everything. And like I said, I'm completely unprepared. But still, I think it's worth talking about. In my mind, there's really only been maybe 2 or 3 teams that have committed strongly to the running game this year. Calgary definitely has until last week, and the Riders did except for one game, and Winnipeg still does to a degree, although I don't see as much. And the others seem to be in and out of it. Butler has a great game in BC and then gets nothing the next week. Same thing with Rankin up in Edmonton and that. So just thought I'd ask you guys' opinion about how do you feel about how the OCs are using the running game this year. Is there anybody that's really good at it, or do we need to see more? Are they doing it right?
Well, I kind of think it's a combination of 2 things, young OCs and young running backs. Where you've got where you've got the guys that are new, it's not consistent. Where you've got the more established coaching staffs as well as the more established running backs, that's the people that seem to be relying on them more. So I think that's just how I see it. Whereas the other teams, just like in Edmonton, you're right. They just seem to come and go this week, next week, and even in Montreal and in Toronto for that matter as well. They just seem to come and go with whether they decide to run them or not. So I think it's as much as anything a combination of coaching and the confidence in the young backs that they have, where the veteran coaches that have veteran backs are more than willing to use them.
What was it last week or the week before where there was one team, I can't remember now. I threw away my notes, but there was one team where the quarterback had the most rushing yards. Was that Cody?
Happened in the Elk at the Riders.
Yeah.
Fajardo had more rushing yards than either of the backs.
And I think he had more rushes, not just more yards, but more rushes. I think between the 2 backs that week, they only ran like 5 times. It wasn't like they were like this week in Ottawa, Calgary had a terrible running game. I think they only had like 11 yards or something. Mills didn't have a game at all. But it wasn't like they didn't try. They at least tried to run the ball. Versus other games, it's like they just throw away that whole set of plays and don't even bother. And so, it's definitely kind of odd.
I was just asking my husband about this. We were talking about this because I was like, and he thinks that the defenses are just scheming against it well this year.
Well, there is something to that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, Ottawa definitely schemed against it last Thursday. That was a huge, part of the game plan was make Walker throw the ball. So I think there is some of that in certain circumstances where you can do it. But like Toronto, they cut Carey and then they cut Brown and then they ended up with 2 guys you've never heard of before. Montreal cut Fletcher, again, all-star guys, and they just cut them out and to go with 2 guys you've never heard of before. And then they hardly give them the ball on top of that. And I don't know what the heck's going on in Edmonton because you had 2 guys that you were proven and they just decided against it. And in Hamilton, even with Greg Bell, it's, as much as they love him and they got rid of Butler because of him, they haven't used him on a regular basis. It's kind of sporadic. I think that's Milanovic's style, is that he's more of a passing coach than a running coach.
And you get the same thing with Condell in Ottawa. Even back with Hamilton, he didn't run a whole lot. But yeah, I tend to agree with what you're saying there, that defenses can do that. But if you watch again the teams that really are dedicated to running the ball, if a defense does sell out, loads the box up like that, and determines they're going to stop the run, those are the teams that they just start going intermediate, 10, 12 yards over top, 15 yards over top of the linebackers to back them up and do it. So it's not like the defense dictates everything, but it does seem like there are some games, and even teams dedicated to, like I said, the Calgary game last week and then the Calgary game against Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan and Calgary, in both those games, they got like less than 10 yards running. They ran 5 or 6 times and then just bailed on it. And that really surprised me in this last Calgary. I got to say, I lost everything this week. We all went 2-2 in the pick'em, and I went 2-2 on my personal one too with it, even though I'd gone with Ottawa there. I saw that game playing out completely different. I've seen Dickinson do this in the past, and I think I'm still buying him on reputation, because I was sure they were going to come in. That defense was playing really well. They'd hold them in the game, and they'd give them a steady, hard dose of running, and they'd win it like 16-12 or something. And instead, they didn't have a game plan that was working at all. And even when they had chances to adjust, they didn't seem to come back to it. They just left it all on Walker, and that surprised the hell out of me. We're kind of getting into the first game here, but let's finish this anyway.
Yeah, it's just interesting because for a lot of years, the running back was like the star of the team. You think about like guys like Andrew Harris or John Cornish, like those kind of guys were the person on the team. And that just I mean, there's Brady, but even like his year is quite quiet, and even maybe last year. But so it's just interesting that like it just seems to tend away, and we're talking a lot more about receivers this year than we're not talking about anybody being a running back star.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there 100%. It's gone away from being that kind of player that dominates, that position that dominates. And I think that's coaching and scheming again. There's, as they keep saying, telling us on television, defenses are just so much more complicated than they used to be.
It's really difficult to count on more than a 5-yard run at best. I mean, you'll break some, but to try and have a running game that you can consistently pick up first downs running is definitely not an easy thing in the league these days. I don't know. I still am a firm believer in it. I still think that you have to use it. And as all the color commentators on the broadcast talk about, if you can do it, it pays off late in the game.
Absolutely.
Because it does wear down D linemen. So I think it's important, but I also think that too many coordinators, when they think, well, we're going to commit to the run, that means we're going to run on the first down the first 4 or 5 times we're out there. And if it doesn't work, then we'll go to passing. Whereas I think you run 1 or 2, even if you go on first down, and if it's stuffed, then you start looking at what else you've got to back them up a bit.
But there was like the Alouettes who didn't run the ball almost an entire half of a game. So it's just,
they've been known for that, though. That's the Moss offense. And they talk about the fact that, that it's an extended running game because they do the screen passes and whatnot. And there's truth to that. But on the other hand, was it this weekend or last weekend that somebody jumped one of those screens and almost took it back to the house, just barely bobbled it? So there's also a risk to trying to do those. They're not quite as safe as actually handing the ball off. I don't know that we've reached any conclusions, but I feel like I've vented. Anything else to say about it?
We all needed to vent.
Okay, so let's go on to the games then, and we'll start with the first one there. That was, here we go. Let me make sure I get this right. Yeah, so that was Calgary went into Ottawa and unfortunately did not do well. Ottawa 31, Calgary 11. Do you want to take the lead on this, GT, with it being the Stamps?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I will say that, Ottawa's game plan defensively was to take away the run. They had a quarterback who was playing his first game and wasn't used to the field and wasn't used to being able to. So his limitations on throws were evident over the course of the game. He made some good ones, but he made more bad ones than good ones. But the biggest thing that disappointed me about the game, because I thought the game was entertaining. Again, the score was lopsided, but it didn't look that way when you watched it. But what was the most disappointing was the penalties. That's 2 weeks in a row that Calgary took over 130 yards in penalties. And that's really got to stop unless this team is falling to the wayside and is becoming who everybody thought they were going to be. And maybe they are. Maybe the first 5 weeks was a mirage. We'll have to wait and see over the next few. But the last 2 weeks, they've not played well, generally with the penalties hurting them at inopportune times. And like I said last week, bad teams take bad penalties at bad times. I was specific on in Edmonton when I was saying that, but Calgary certainly has taken a lot of bad penalties over the last 2 weeks.
For whatever it's worth, like I said, I expected a completely different game plan from Calgary. I was really surprised at the fact that they were putting so much on Walker with it. But as well, it felt to me like this was the Calgary team I expected to see this year. To me, it says just how much VA brings to that team, not just in his physical play, but in the hope that he gives them. It looked like with the whole team was less confident, including defense, without VA in there. And sometimes you catch that. Sometimes you catch that magic in a bottle with a new quarterback or a new star player in some high-profile position, and the team rallies behind him. If that is the case, I hope they can keep it going, because the other thing with that is it's a fragile kind of thing. The last time I really remember something sort of like this in the CFL would have been when Fajardo came out of nowhere with the Riders in 2019. And they had not the greatest season, but they way performed above what they were supposed to do. When they ended up losing in the Western Final on that, it seemed to break the magic and they could never get it back. So I'm hoping, just because of what we've seen out of VA and the Samps this year, that they don't lose it early, that he gets back in there and they start playing well. And along that, there were a couple of things that really bothered me, including the fact that Dickinson went for it on third and 10, deep in his own end zone there were a couple of minutes left. But the chances of winning that were very low. As a result, they ended up getting the ball on the 1 yard line and walked in for another touchdown easy. It seems like not that much, but that's the kind of thing that as a player, it can really get in your psyche when you're out there fighting hard. And the defense, when you think about it, the defense was really only gave up 17 points they were responsible for.
Exactly.
They could have won that game like that. But it feels to me like sometimes Dickinson is doing really silly things I've never seen him do before.
Yeah, that was also they needed to get back in the game. I wasn't adverse to that call. You were either going to get back in the game or not at that stage. But that was situational football that the Stampeders weren't aware of. When you're down there, just go into the end zone and take a safety. Why get tackled on the one? Get your own offensive lineman should be pushing the quarterback into the end zone so that, not holding him up. That's just, everybody just made a mistake there, in my opinion. It's another, not a penalty, but another situational thing where they should have had more, and they would have given up 2 points and taken over the ball at the 30-yard line or whatever the case, instead of giving the ball on the one and giving up 7 points on the next play. It was just not smart football at that stage. Not the call itself, but the result of the call.
Well, I will disagree there, because I do think the call itself was bad football too. The chances were so very slim of it happening. You might as well have punted and hope you got it back one more time.
Yeah.
But like I said, I worry. I've been around football enough to know that big parts of it are emotion. And when you've got a team that's on a roll and running well and they suddenly hit some adversity, you don't want to add to that. But that just might be me. You've been very quiet, MJ.
I very much agree. I just want to talk about a tale of two defenses. That Hardy touchdown, there were wheat fields around him. He was so open, acres of land around him. And I was very surprised that Calgary would have a complete breakdown in coverage like that, given how well their defense is playing. Somebody was talking about how PJ Walker was throwing the ball too hard, and that's why the receivers couldn't catch it. Then I said, the Red Blacks defenders don't seem to have any trouble catching PJ Walker's passes. They are catching them just fine. You guys practiced with them for an entire week. You should be able to catch that. But yeah, this is a game, there was 3 interceptions. There was no rushing. Paredes was 1 for 3 on his field goals.
Mm-hmm.
And they were blaming the wind, and maybe it's true because Lewis Ward did miss one, so maybe there. But Rene Paredes has played in Ottawa a lot. Like that should not be happening, and he's been a bit shaky. And this is why I'm wondering why sometimes they are gambling a little late sometimes because they just don't trust their kickers.
So,
But yeah.
Paredes, when they trotted him out the first one, I immediately looked at my brother who I was attending the game with and said, he can't make this kick. It's 53 yards. He doesn't have the leg anymore. And he doesn't.
Yeah.
The second one that he missed, I don't know how much they showed it on TV, but live at the game, we could almost hear him 30 rows up yelling at somebody else that did something that either the snap was wrong or it was a hold was wrong or something, but he was not happy with the rest of the snapping team. The interceptions, one of them he overthrew, and it was, he just overthrew it. And the second one was a typical American rookie kind of quarterback that just did not see the 12th player on defense. It was like he just didn't see him. It was there wide open, but he just didn't see him. So, yeah.
They talked about that a lot on the broadcast, that he just was not accounting for the extra player.
Yeah, exactly. So, and on the defense, you're right. There was a lot of miscommunication on both of the touchdowns, and they had again made a game time decision on Adrian Green and not put him back in, and instead they started someone else, which means they juggled the whole defensive backfield around, so the communication was way off. There was a lot of combination of stuff. The thing is like I agree with you, old man. Is like we'll see this week. They're getting VA back. Mm-hmm. They're getting a lot of players back, at least 2 or 3 other players back as well. And we'll see if they bounce back. If they don't bounce back, it's good. Is this, the beginning of this or the continuation of the spiral or not? I said going into that game, the next 5, they kind of had to win, I hope, 3 of the 5. I don't think they'll be able to do that at this stage. We'll see where they end up. They've got Winnipeg, then a bye, then Saskatchewan, then back-to-back Edmonton.
So GT, you were at the game. How were the vibes for the Red Black fans? I'm sure they were thrilled.
They were terrible.
Oh, no.
I wasn't. Yeah, no, seriously, I wasn't going to talk about it. It was like
we don't have to talk.
No, that's only because I didn't want to come on a national broadcast and say bad things about a fan base. But it was bad. The whole experience was one of the worst in-game football experiences I've had in a long, long time. It was. Yeah. It was just like what, and that's one of the key things. It was their first home win of the season. It was only their second win of the season. You think they would have been ecstatic? They were sitting on their hands. It wasn't. Yeah.
Well, I can see that a bit because last year was encouraging, but they're kind of like Edmonton. They've been going through this for 4 or 5 years now, so I'm sure it feels like just back to that. And I do want to say too, to give Calgary sort of, not give them excuses, but to put things in context, we have to remember, like you said, GT, Adrian Green was out of there, and as well, his backup, LeBrosse, I think it is, from last, he was out as well.
Exactly.
So they were going with Onyeka, which was basically a third stringer at that position, and in a defensive backfield, we all know how critical communication is, so I can see some of what happened there. And again, they didn't give up all the points in that game. And on the offensive side, they had 2 first-time receivers in who, one of them at least, did not seem to know how to catch a football. Mm-hmm. I think I saw him targeted 4 or 5 times and drop easy catches.
Yeah, Baldwin, 86. Yeah, no, I was not impressed. But that's okay. It's a game. It's only one game.
Yeah, so maybe for all the stamps except Walker, it's a burn the tape game and just move on. And maybe we should do that.
Oh, I'm just my one
Sure.
gripe about TSN. Dear TSN, please show us the penalty replays. There was they talked over top of the referee. They weren't showing the replays. They're like, oh, we're back to the game. Oh, there was a misconduct penalty. I'm like, are you going to say who it was for or where, what? No, just carrying on. Please. If I was going to do that, I might as well be singing at the game, trying to talk to my kid about his popcorn and miss it. I don't expect that to happen to me at home when I'm watching with replay available.
You wouldn't have missed it at the game because they didn't do it there either. Another
No,
one.
but I would have been watching.
Yeah, you have a better chance of see if the camera isn't pointed at it, you can still see it. Yeah.
They didn't do replays at the game field.
There was hardly any announcements of penalties from the ref, mic'd into the stands. They didn't show, like, there was a challenge. There was no on the screen reviews of the challenge where you could see the different angles or anything like that while it was going on and make your own decision and boo loudly if you were so decided. They had some kind of, contest going on in the end zone that drowned out 2 or 3 calls by the referee. It was a schmozzle, in my opinion.
That doesn't help fan engagement.
So, anyways, I don't want to, but I didn't want to talk.
Yes.
That's fair.
Okay.
All right.
So we are going to jump ahead then to the next night, to the Friday night when Toronto went into Winnipeg, and to me this game showed just how much emotion matters in a football game, because it started out, it looked like it was going to be a repeat of the Toronto game all over again. Winnipeg, to me, looked like they weren't terribly focused. I thought they were going to get beat on, and then they got the kick return touchdown, and that just turned the game completely. The old TSN turning point was definitely that. I didn't think it was in doubt much from there on.
Yeah, I thought we had 2 pretty entertaining games and 2 not so entertaining games this weekend. And I think this was one of the entertaining games, even though the score again was lopsided. I thought it was closer than the score indicates. If you think about it, Winnipeg scored, it was what? No, this is the wrong score here you've got, right? Because wasn't it 40-31 or 40-34?
It is.
Oh, let me check again.
40-31.
Yeah, it was.
Is that?
Yeah. Sorry.
Is that not what I said? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
okay.
yeah,
It was 40-31. It was close.
Yeah, it was very close. And
I only have them at 18 for some reason. My bad.
Yeah. And
okay.
And
40 to.
And until Winnipeg scored late and knocked that ball down, Toronto was driving to kind of get back in the game because it was 37-31, with Toronto only down 6 and had a shot there going in, except those long arms of Willie got in the way of everything in the fourth quarter.
He had a good game.
I thought this was a pretty entertaining game. And you're right, that kickoff return right after Toronto had an interception return for a touchdown, that just swung everything back in Winnipeg's favor, and just they went from there, And then a punt return later on, like the Ottawa game, Toronto kind of scored as much offensive points as Winnipeg did, or maybe even more. But it was about 2 special teams touchdowns that made the difference in the game.
Yeah, I have based on stats, the Argos should have won. They had double the passing yards. Yeah, it was weird, but yeah, special teams.
Well, they keep talking about it's equal phase of the game up here, and games like this definitely show that it is. Like I said, it's one of the things where CFL just, you never know exactly how a game's going to go. And I agree with UGT. It wasn't necessarily the best played game, but there was entertainment in the returns and that. And in some ways, it kind of felt a little bit, like I said, it never felt in doubt, but it felt a little bit to me like the Hamilton game in Toronto, where Toronto was scoring points, but they'd fallen behind, and they couldn't seem to gain ground at all. There was always something the Bombers were doing that kept them ahead.
Yeah.
And again,
every time Toronto got close, the Bombers responded with something, whether it be even a little as much as a field goal, whether it was a knockdown, and there was 8 knockdowns in that game. That was the craziest thing. I think there was 8 knockdowns at the line, and Jefferson alone had 5 of them. That was bizarre. But even those things were. You're right. We're just stalling out Toronto, but in the meantime, they were moving the ball around. So, but I thought it was, again, close enough to be entertaining.
I also have a note that it's different when the Bombers are different when they plan for Streveler to play than when Streveler just has to get put into a game.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's 2-0 when he starts.
Right, but I don't think you can give him that win. I mean, he'll get it in the records, but I thought I gave him full credit for the week 2 win, their first win of the season. He looked very good in that. I didn't think he looked good this time. His accuracy was off. It's hard to tell sometimes what's happening downfield. So I don't know if he was missing people open or not, but he didn't look impressive.
Well, it's not good when your OC basically says, yeah, he threw the ball to the wrong spot. Otherwise, we would have had another touchdown. And that was, that statement came out this week, on that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, they came out. Basically, well, we made the right call because there was some controversy about why did you make that call? It looked like it was not the right call to make for a pass into the end zone. And the OC said, well, no, I made the right call. He just threw it to the wrong spot. It's not my fault. It's the quarterback's fault.
Oh, boy.
I imagine Coach O'Shea will be having a long talk with his new OC. Man, I don't even recall what he was talking about. It may or may not have been true, but you do not say that as a coach.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's going to get the team fired up. I don't know that there's a lot more to say than this other than what we have. Toronto outplayed them largely, but the special teams and the momentum and, well, frankly, the defense played pretty good, but one player on defense had a career game, even for him, and it happened. Yeah, okay then. So I guess we move on then. I pull up the other one here as I continue to juggle this. Maybe I've got these scores close. Hamilton went into Edmonton and eked out a 28-24 victory. Does that sound right?
That's right.
I believe I've got it right.
Oh, guys, this was so stressful. At one point, I was saying, who is at the top of the power rankings and who is at the bottom? Because this game was tight. It was tight. It was back and forth. Was there any field goals? I don't think there were any field goals. I think this was just flat out shoot 'em out football. Bo passed Doug Flutie, and Doug Flutie had a really nice message for him. That was really great to see. And Bo punted for 28 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
the old quick kick. Yep.
Yeah.
But that's because their long snapper was injured. And teams, you need to have a long snapper backup. Oh.
Yeah, and they kept talking about that on television as well, and that they were very surprised that they didn't have someone that could have gone in that situation. But he pulled it off, and it didn't look like a complete cluster. It was not badly executed, actually.
Yeah, especially for something I don't think they would practice much.
Right.
Yeah. The Elks should have won this game. They could have easily won this game. Julian Grant, that pass in the end zone. What a heartbreak. I just want to sink into the floor. The Elks player that I will shout out that did well, their punter messed up that punt badly and went down and recovered it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Cody Grace, yes, that was nice to see.
Heads up play.
Yeah.
One doesn't cancel the other out, though, and tough to be an out.
He reminded me of Jamie Borum out there getting that punt.
Yeah.
Like a good physical punter. Yeah, and just in case anybody didn't catch the end of the game, what MJ's talking about with, that drop was, Julian Grant was open in the end zone with under, I think, a minute left or just over a minute to go ahead, and it was basketball, not football. There was no bottom in the basket. It went right through his arms and dropped out.
Poor Cody.
That's got to kill you.
Yeah, that was the most entertaining game of the week, and it was a good game. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that one, and I was surprised that I did, but I did.
Yes, and say what you want about the Tiger Cats, they are playing entertaining football.
Absolutely.
They are fun to watch, and some of it is the plays they're running, and some of it is just their attitude on the field. It seems like they're having fun out there too.
Oh. Yeah, and now you keep looking at their schedule and going, okay, so who do they play next, and how does that team stop them? Because that's just now it's become, how do you stop these guys? Because every time you turn around, they're using another weapon and going in a different direction with the receivers. And Bo is just so hot right now. It's incredible. Like, again, did you have any doubt that at some point he wasn't going to win that game? As much as well as Edmonton was playing, it was like, yeah, but Bo's going to pull this out somehow, and he did. He just,
Yeah.
So, and I just don't know which defense is going to be able to stop that at this stage. I don't know how what does BC do this week coming up? They tried something last week. It didn't work at all. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do this week.
Well, my other one elk fun, like that did well. Tyrell Ford, you see him lifting Bridges out of bounds? Just like lifted him and pushed him out.
Yep.
And they're like, no
That's
catch.
how you play it as a DB.
Yeah.
No interference on that. Just run them out of bounds.
Yeah.
Yes. And to what you were saying, GT, I think the only way that somebody stops Hamilton, and you don't stop them, but the way somebody stops them enough to beat them, is you have to have a good, solid defense that goes out and ignores the fact that Kenny Lawler's on that team.
Yeah.
You play your regular defense. You don't do anything special. You accept the fact we may end up giving up a touchdown to him. We might even give up 2, but we're not gonna let everything else beat us, and we're gonna get them off the field. Yeah. 2 series out of 3.
Yeah, you just man up, boys. Man up and go get your guy and just run man coverage because zones are not working.
Yeah.
You can't leave Smith open. I think that much has been established. You can cover Kenny all you want, but you need to equally cover Smith.
Well, that's the thing is they've got Smith, and on the short stuff, White has been doing okay. Yeah. So you've got, you've got him out there with the stuff, and that they've got a lot of receivers that can do it. And yeah, you cannot dedicate. Well, you can get away with dedicating, if you're going to run a zone and double up Kenny, you can get away with that to a degree. BC did for a lot of the game. You can't do what they did at the end of the drive in the BC game, which is basically have everybody covering Kenny.
Yeah.
But that's where I say you got to play your regular defense. You got to guard all 5 receivers out there and the running back and the quarterback and everything. You can't focus too much on one. So how do you figure the feeling is in Edmonton right now after coming that close, but now another loss?
Well, Bo in his interview after said that Cody, he gave Cody his flowers. He said Cody's the most disrespected quarterback in the league. The panel was talking about how this should be Edmonton had to play one of the top teams in the league. They should feel good about that. And then Milt was like, there's no moral victories. Yeah. That's not 2 points in your win column. And that's not 2 points in your win column. And people in Edmonton are done. Trey was the savior last year, and they want to run him out of town this year. I feel bad for Cody. He's a good quarterback. And watching them, Edmonton's a really, I don't know how to say this. It just seems very fickle here. But the players seem to want, the players that were ride or die with Trey last year and wanted to run McLeod Bethel out of town, and no one wanted McLeod Bethel, and everyone was behind Trey, have completely 180'd and were forget Trey. We all want to play for Cody now. And I feel like maybe this is just a desperation. We're grasping at straws. Whoever is playing well is who we're all circling the wagons around. I don't think in Calgary, if PJ Walker had played well, they'd be like, oh, well, maybe VA isn't the guy for us. Maybe we move. No. So Edmonton's always balancing, and they haven't quite figured it out. And I don't know if that's just players or if that's coaching or management or ownership that are causing some issues and drama.
I think it's just everybody's desperate for a win. And they just want to win. And if they feel like that's the guy that's going to give them a win, last year they felt like it was Trey. This year they feel like it's Cody. So I don't care, I'm just speaking as a player and probably as fans, as everybody. It's just I don't care how they do it, just win. And if this is the guy that's going to let us win, then that's the guy I'm going with right now. And that's the guy I want to be behind. They just need to win. And I don't know if they're going to, they've been close. They've been close, and they continue to be close. So at some point in time, I can see it. I still see that turning around. It's just,
So Hamilton, a lot of years, this would have been flipped. And Hamilton would be the team that wouldn't be able to finish that drive. And they would have dropped that past the end zone. Goodness, they did it in the Grey Cup. They just couldn't seal the deal. And they finally they are finishing their games, and Edmonton's now on the outside of that looking in, and they're the ones that can't finish these games off. And you're right, they're close. I don't think they are as bad as people make them out to be. Even last year, the last back half of the season, they were winning games. In some games, they only lost by a field goal. It was always close. can't quite put the last nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it becomes a culture, unfortunately, of losing. And you're right. And it's been actually 3 or 4 years, as I remember it, that they've been in games. A lot of them. They just, they can't finish it. And for whatever it's worth, I really feel like, I think I posted on Blue Sky last week that the Elks are channeling the spirit of the late 70s, early 80s Rough Riders. Because it's been a decade of futility there, just like Saskatchewan went through back in the day. And to me, it's management. Back to last time Herbie was GM, and I can't remember who the president was, and they did a bunch of stupid things, including getting rid of Mazuziak, the equipment manager that had been with them forever, and really sort of tearing down the team. And then from that, they went to Chris Jones, which was just pretty much a joke. And now they get a chance to start new, and they get a rookie head coach. Okay, well, Kilm's been people have been saying he's the next one for quite a while. But even though they've tried to revive the dead name and say that's the secret to success, it's not there. And the thing I question this year is it's obvious to me that Masimic as an OC does not want to play a game that Trey can play.
No.
And they signed Trey before they signed him. So you've just signed a quarterback that's supposed to be the franchise guy to a long-term contract, I think with guaranteed money in there, and you don't talk to the OC about how he's going to use them when you're doing the interviews. It baffles me.
How much Trey had input on that too? Like,
well,
quarterbacks, if you're signing a franchise quarterback that's getting, he's one of the highest paid ones. He's getting a lot of money to sit on a bench now. It's weird.
Yeah, he's not, I don't think he's up in the 500 range, but I think he's making more than Brown is and more than Alexander is. So he is getting money for it. They did renegotiate it. And yeah, that's the thing is I would have, if it was me, I would have had him, definitely giving input on who the OC is. Who do I think I can work with? But even if he isn't, Killam should be doing that. Herbie should be doing that. Rather than say, okay, well, you can come in here with your system you like to run and we'll somehow make it all work. When you know you don't have the quarterback you're pinning your hopes on doesn't have that skill set. So I put it down to, unfortunately, I think that even under the new ownership, they're just making bad moves. And I don't know what happens to pull them out of the spiral. I feel terrible for the fans in Edmonton.
Yeah. Well, and desperation moves aren't
for everybody?
always, yeah. Well, then desperation moves aren't always the correct ones.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, and if there were changes to be made, then I might feel better about it. But the changes have all been made, and they weren't done well. Should I stop my rants? Move on?
Ticats
Anything
won.
else
That's
for anybody?
what I know.
Okay, yeah.
6 in a row.
Yeah, it is just, they are, that's the upside of it. And I hope they get something figured out. I hope that at least Edmonton with Cody in there gets competitive for the last half of the year. They win, where are they now? I think they're at 7-1, aren't they?
This is what they did last year.
They've got 10 games left. I would love to see them at least go 5-5 in the last half of the season or something. And they could do that the way they played the last 2 weeks against Saskatchewan and Hamilton, the two top teams in the rankings. And speaking of those, and then the other one that was a top team and, still is a top team, but Saskatchewan went into Montreal and walked away 34-6. And this one I didn't get my notes transcribed, so I'm not sure. And I was a little disjointed because the way it worked out with TSN, they ran the Edmonton game to the end on one channel and started the Riders game ahead on the other channel. So I watched to the end of the Edmonton game, went over to the other channel to watch the rest of the Riders game, and my little Shaw box came up and said, "Oh, we can't connect to this." And when I phoned in, they were having some sort of regional outage. So I watched the last 3/4 of the game in real time, and then Sunday had to get up and watch the first quarter. So I'm a little disjointed, but to me, just like I said, Calgary looked like the team I was expecting them to be without VA out there, and I think they'll turn it around with him back. Saskatchewan, for the first week, really looked like the team that I thought they could be from the beginning of the year. They went in, they built up a good lead. They didn't go through their usual third quarter slowdown where they go 2 and out the entire quarter and let the other team score and get back in it. They seem to have Montreal's number. And Montreal, to their in their defense, as we talked about with Calgary, Montreal had to do some juggling at the end, right at the last minute or game day decision, whatever. Ento was out on the corner from there. So I think they moved Ruffin out from, I think he was at the strong side linebacker or something. Anyway, it was a complete jumble. And then later in the game, they lost Dequoy as well. So they had a young safety in there.
And their second string safety. They were down to their third string safety at one point there.
So an Ottawa situation there, yeah.
Yeah.
And Montreal just could not seem to move the ball against the Edmonton defense. MBT looked like he did. Well, frankly, I think he looked, and maybe it's the defense he was facing, but he looked the worst he has yet. I thought he played better in his first two losses than he did in this one.
Yeah, I just kept thinking and hoping, and I kept saying to myself, this is just, because MBT is really bad. And then I kept going, no. And then I went, no, this is just Saskatchewan being pretty darn good. And this is Saskatchewan, the team that we expected when we all had them at the top of the West or top of the league going into the season. So, yeah, I think they're starting to show. I do think there's still some issues there, but I think they're starting to show that they are, they are as good as we thought they were going to be. So I might just have to kind of put up with it.
Yeah, and I think you're right there. And yeah, you're right. There are, it's the same thing that you'll hear any coach say after a good win or any win. Well, there's still stuff for us to work on, and it's always true. But that was true of the Stamps through their decade and a half of dominance, and it was true or close to that, and it was true of Montreal back in the 09, 010. Great teams, but you could say, okay, yeah, we can work on this and we can work on that, and that's where the Riders are at. I mean, the most glaring one is still, does Lowther get his kicking locked down when it really matters? Because that's still a little scary, but that feels like a traditional Saskatchewan question to me.
Person who doesn't need to work on their kicking is Maltos.
Yeah,
definitely does not need to.
Not. But Montreal's just needs. They gotta. They're in trouble. They're in trouble. If it wasn't for Ottawa and Toronto, they would have been looking at being third or fourth right now.
Yeah, I could see Hamilton wrapping up first place by not long after Labor Day if things keep going the way that they are. I will say it's just one of those things that I noticed, the quirky little things. Maltos's last 3 field goals were 58, 56, and 54.
Yeah.
I figure if they follow that trend by the end of the season, they'll be kicking all 2-yard field goals. Keep working your way in.
They couldn't even get past the 46-yard line, though. Like, I don't think
they didn't. Not all game.
Got past. Yeah.
And I just thought, again, the thing about Saturday, it was, as you said, where, it was like, what's going on here? How do we have two different cities in, like, how far apart, and we both have lightning delays. It was like I turned on one game and now I have to go back and watch another game while I'm waiting for this game to show up again. It was just and then you have to try to find it because on the recording it runs over into some other program that's called something about something else entirely. And it was.
So I had to switch over. I was watching live. I had to switch over to TSN 3 to finish the Elks and Ticats game because TSN 1 was showing soccer.
Yes.
And so then I had to flip back to TSN 3 to finish that game. And then the Riders Alouettes game came on, but the video quality looked garbage on TSN 3. So then I had to switch back to TSN 1 and then it looked good. So I'm just like first world problem.
Yeah. And I don't remember if it was that game or another one, but they had audio problems again at one of the games. That's 2 weeks in a row. So the gremlins are coming out in full force.
Yes.
I think. All the people that really know what they're doing are on summer vacation, and we've got the interns running the show.
Yeah. You can hear the air horns, though.
Yes. The air horn ban is working, I see. It's in full force.
Or they found something very similar.
Yeah, that lasted, 2 games? Maybe?
Yeah. I like them. I was happy.
I love this league. So, anything else in that game or an overall, anything we learned that matters this weekend? I don't really think so.
I have 2 thoughts. I have 2 lasting thoughts on this. One, when you were only scored 6 points in this game. Why are you punting in the fourth quarter in garbage time? Just go for it. Just go for it. You are losing by so much. What does it matter anymore? Just pedal to the metal. And also, my last thought is McLeod Bethel Thompson cannot talk smack to the TSN panel when he plays like this.
Yeah, I never heard any reports of that this week.
Yeah.
Mind you, this week I don't think he had to tell them, don't say anything good about me.
Yeah. Don't you worry.
So it will be interesting to see who is the quarterback this week for Montreal upcoming. Will it be
because
McLeod Bethel Thompson in Edmonton?
Will it be Caleb Evans?
Might be Caleb Evans.
I've heard people talk a lot about, apparently they have another third stringer they're really high on. So, but I think he's first year in the season, in the system, so probably a bit early for that. But yeah, but like I said, all we learned this weekend is that Calgary without VA is capable of playing a bad game. I wouldn't say that happens every game, but that's possible to happen. These are my takeaways from the game. Calgary is possible capable of playing a bad game. That Winnipeg, when they've got emotion at home, still is awful damn hard to beat. That Hamilton is a lot of fun to watch, and basically I don't expect that performance from Saskatchewan in 2 weeks when they're back against Calgary. Yes. I hope they play well enough to beat Calgary, but that was a thoroughly enjoyable game for a Rider fan. I don't think any of us that followed the game well and know what we're talking about would say, oh, well, that's it. We're good for the rest of the season now. We're going to roll.
This weekend just proves
far better than that.
And I don't understand what's happening this season.
I remember on last season's broadcast when I was doing this on my own, I talked a lot about embrace the chaos. This is the CFL. And we haven't gone away from it this year. I don't know. There are people who complain that CFL isn't professional enough and all the rest of it. I just love all the quirky little stuff that happens in a league this size. And, there's a lot of players out there playing, still hoping to get to the NFL and that. But there's a lot that are playing because they love to play football. And this gives them a chance. And
100%.
That just makes me feel good.
How can you not have fun when your top passer in the league is punting in a game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered those off. Get to look ahead to this week. Hopefully I have these all right. Like I said, I was doing this in a hurry right before the show. So game 1, Friday night or Thursday night? Thursday night, I think.
Thursday night.
BC at Hamilton. Predictions, thoughts? I'll start saying Hamilton.
I don't think Mike Benavides can... Yeah, I don't think Mike Benavides can scheme well enough to keep Kenny, Smith, White, and Bo under lock and key.
Yeah. If it had been back-to-back, I might even think different because those can be hard to win, but it's not back-to-back for Hamilton. They've had the game in between here, and if they couldn't beat them in BC, and I expect they'll run a different defense and they'll do somewhat better against Hamilton, but I don't see them having the ability to keep up with Hamilton.
There's some talk. Hamilton's on another short week this week, and BC's coming off the bye, but I don't know. Don't think that's going to matter.
Mind you, like I said, 2 out of 4 last week, 2 and 2. So I don't know that what I think matters at all. But yeah, I just can't see it. I think Hamilton doesn't have the best defense in the league, but I think they're good enough to win with that offense they've got. And I think even at that, they're better than the BC defense. I would say in just about every facet of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, BC is just a step below Hamilton at this point, and I can't see them winning it. So you said Hamilton, MJ? Did you say GT?
Yeah, I've got Hamilton as well because I don't have anything to add that you guys haven't already said. It's just, they're just not there. They're just not there.
Yeah. And another one that'll be interesting, Edmonton at Montreal. I believe this is the Friday nighter. Cody's back in there, apparently. Cody's, if there's anything to the chip on the shoulder game against a team that's let you go, he's got that going for him. Montreal didn't look great. I'm going to let one of you two go first on this one.
Go ahead, MJ.
I think this game is going to be spicy. We got 2 quarterbacks that were traded in the offseason to each other's teams. There's a little story there. Montreal is going to be mad about how they played. Edmonton is going to be mad that they could have won that game against against Hamilton. They're going to be mad. Both or chaos. I'm going to pick Edmonton.
Me now? Okay, because I don't know. I'm to talk my way through this one. I guess it's, yeah, I want to take Edmonton. I do. That Montreal defense is just so bloody good, but I see things like we didn't talk about this in the game, but it just came back to me. One of the things was Montreal dressed 5 defensive linemen to play against the Riders that they know are a running team that are going to try and overpower you. They had one person to rotate, and one of those was Sean Lemon, who was just coming off of his year-long hiatus, so I doubt he's in game shape. And that part didn't surprise me, that they weren't really great at putting pressure on the quarterback or stopping the run. So if they do that again, I could see Edmonton winning it. Yeah, I'll go Edmonton. What the heck?
Well, Edmonton has Rankin and Leak, right? If they can't figure out a run defense.
But Montreal is a lot will have to do. It may matter who's back for Montreal off the injury list too. Is Ento a 1-game miss, and how much does the extra week of practice help?
Yeah. Philpott's still out too. Why do both Philpott brothers have hamstring injuries?
I don't know.
You
just triggered me one other thing I was going to say back in the Saskatchewan-Montreal game that occurred to me, and that's that apparently Shane Ray isn't made of glass. We're 9 games into the season, and he's still in there playing and getting sacks. When they signed him, everybody said, he'll last a game. Anyway, sorry.
Sorry, go
All
ahead.
these things that would have been in my notes if I'd been prepared this week. They're just having to come out of the foggy old memory now. So we've both gone Edmonton. GT, are you going to go the other way, or?
No, I'm going with Edmonton in the upset. I just think that I've lost all confidence in Montreal's offense. You know, as you said, Philpott's not back yet. As far as I don't think he'll be back this week. And excuse me, I don't know what the status is of. Why am I drawing a blank?
Mac.
Mac,
Austin
right?
Mac
He was out. Yeah,
he's out.
Yeah. So I just don't have confidence in Montreal's offense anymore. So, and they haven't established any running games over the course of the year. So why would you think all of a sudden these guys are going to lead you to victory? And yeah, so, and Edmonton's been close. So they're due, right? They're due. So yeah, I'm all in on Edmonton this week.
We're very agreeable this week so far.
I'm doing my best.
See what happens when we get to the next one. So you get to start this time, GT. Ottawa at Toronto.
This could be the most entertaining game of the week, because for two teams that have not played well and have taken a lot of heat, both of their quarterbacks have been slinging the ball. Arbuckle's been slinging the ball the entire season, and Drew Brown he does it all the time, and now he's back. And so when he's played, he's slung the ball. So I think this is going to be a really high-scoring game. And I think it's going to be one of those almost whoever has the ball last kind of game. So it's the hardest one of the week to pick in my mind as well. But I just kind of feel like Ottawa has some momentum right now. So I'm taking Ottawa.
MJ?
Right. This one I think is one of my toughest ones. I just looked today and it looks like Hardy's injured and is not playing this week. So that's a big target. Hardy.
Justin Hardy's out this week?
Yeah, I think they said it was
Does that change your pick?
Maybe, because he's key. He's really key. He's got 2 touchdowns last week, and they saved me in fantasy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a big.
I looked at it quickly before. I just quickly looked, and then I meant to write it down, but I didn't. I can't remember. I don't know if it was like a did not play or if it was a limited. But I think he's a questionable for sure.
I'll check on that while you keep talking for a minute.
Okay.
Phil, cover for me.
Yes. And then I think Eugene Lewis did well, and I think Drew's motivated. Toronto, I don't know. Like that, to lose, this is kind of like their loss against Hamilton where they got blown out, but they played well but got blown out. This is like they played well but got lost against Edmonton to Winnipeg, and sometimes those are really demoralizing because you did the right things. It's not like you played bad, you did right things, and it still didn't pan out your way. And sometimes those really, really cut deep. So it's in Toronto.
If it matters, I've got the injury reports here, and I did see Hardy on this earlier in the week, and he's not on here now.
Oh.
So let me check one other thing while you do this. And the only other thing I could see is if he somehow ended up on the 6th game.
I don't. Oh,
Wow.
I hope not. He's
Yeah,
playing so well.
I didn't see anything last week that would have indicated that.
No, I wouldn't have thought so either, but I'm just pulling up the roster to see if where
Okay.
he shows up, if he's still on the roster, and if he is, because he's
Maybe
definitely
he's-
not on the injury report. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe he's back.
okay, and let's see where
Definitely.
H. Hardy. Yeah, he's still on the roster, so
Okay.
it must have been just a one-day thing. I thought once he went on the injury report, he had to stay all week, but he
right.
must not have been, unless I'm missing something here. But I've got there. It is a long list. There's like 20
have a
players
lot.
on there. So Hardy's in. So
Red black.
Red Black. So Toronto for GT. Oh, you said Ottawa. Yeah. So Ottawa for both
Hardy's
of you two. Okay,
playing,
yeah.
we're going.
So this, I didn't make up any game. I didn't make up any ground on the two of you where you're ahead of me in the pick'em last week, because I got Saskatchewan right when you both picked Montreal, but I also picked Calgary when you both said Ottawa. So I'll take the chance here, but I also, not just to get a chance on getting to you up on you guys or catching up a bit, I do think Toronto is just slightly better team at this point. I think that they will. You never know. I agree with what both of you said. It's the toughest game of the week to pick. An Argo bounce or a Red Black bounce could change things. If there's weather, it could change things. But I think on everything I know right now, I just feel like Toronto is a little further along than Ottawa is at climbing out of that awful start that they had. So that takes us to the last one,
Okay.
which is...
Just before we go into this, because we've been bouncing back and forth about picks, I've like the last 3 weeks, I've been like, I wish I could change my pick. Something's
Well, if you
come
want
up.
to change one, now's the time.
Yeah, you got to give us another day. You got to give us some more time in between to mull these over. And it's this Tuesday to Wednesday broadcast. Even if we had Tuesday to Thursday, I'd be able to go change my pick before the broadcast.
Yes, but we play the rules we have.
That's it, exactly.
We'll have to like split out our picks into a
Yes.
separate one, like Tune Out does.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have one more show of the week left in me with this. Between this and doing the fantasy, I'm as a retired guy, I'm working harder than I'm used to.
This is what makes it interesting, though.
Okay,
right?
so
Early predictions.
well, hey, we can talk offline about whatever we need to do going ahead. But yeah, this is all. At least it's all. We other people might have an advantage over us because they can put their pick 'em in later. But this is fair amongst all of us because we're still picking on the Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And that we got the last one to do, which again, a lot of variables here. Winnipeg at Calgary. Now, let me see if I can check here while you guys jump ahead. I'll just see what it says about VA at this point, because
he's playing.
last that I heard, they said they expected him back, but he was still limited in practice.
They said he had full practice today, and so did Cloris.
Okay, good.
I didn't see what Green was up to, though. I don't know if I saw. I think I saw the VA thing and got really excited, and then stopped looking.
Okay. Hold on a sec here. I'm wondering, you guys keep talking, but I think I was reading you the wrong, for some reason I've still got week 9 up here, so
Uh-oh.
let me just reload this.
It picks the last week's injury report instead of this week's. It was awful.
Yeah, it still says week 9 here on mine. I'm going to go out and try to go back in and see. For a fact that I'm sure I looked earlier and saw something.
CFL
Anyway.
injury report, and it was the second one. It wasn't the top line one. It was the second one down.
Let me do that way rather than through my bookmark.
Yeah, because it kept trying to pull me to week 9, and week 10, they just put out like for
Week 10 here, so
there
let's see
we
if I can.
go. Okay. Did I make up Hardy? Maybe I was just
Aha, we did. Okay, so let me pop down here to Ottawa. Hardy, where are you? Yeah, they still have just the Tuesday for them, and he did not participate, so we don't know if he'll be out or not.
okay.
And with the Calgary, how do they list?
VA, I think,
Let me see how they list VA, because they'll only have the Tuesday there too. Yeah, he was full.
Yeah.
He
what
was in
about
full, and
Green?
Colaris was in full. You're right. So,
Does Green
oh, Green,
practicing?
let's see where he is. Yeah, that could be a thing because he did not participate. and neither did LaBrosse. So they're going to
Yeah.
have some juggling to do in that backfield. It's a good thing they have a good number of Canadians because that may help them out some.
And so Philpott's still out. Moose is still out.
I heard
Yeah.
I thought Philpott was back.
I think it's limited. Is it limited?
I thought Philpott was what I read somewhere. Philpott was probably going to be ready, and Clark Barnes was probably going to be ready.
Yeah, I saw that too. And Barnes is on. This is just day one, so they've still got at least 2 more, maybe 3 more days of practice to go. But day one, Barnes was full. Philpott was limited for Calgary.
Okay.
And the Montreal Philpott is definitely still out. Yeah, Letcher's still out or did not participate. All of these guys, Mac, Marhantan, Dequoy, Lawrence from the O-line. Yeah. And the punter. Oh, but that's non-injury related, so he'll be back. But this is, again, day one. I don't freak out too much because I know I've noticed with the riders who I pay more attention to, of course, because of the other fellow in my brain, that their Mondays these days, usually there's a full list of did not participate with the veterans, and then they go limited and then full, and then they're back in. So with that takes us back to where we were, the Winnipeg at Calgary. Who wants to make the first prediction?
Oh, you go, GT. It's your team.
Boy, oh boy. I'm going Calgary. I think a bounce back there. I don't think it's going to be the blowouts that the first 2 were, but I think they can still bounce back enough to be able to. And I'm not convinced. I'm less convinced on Winnipeg than I was going into the year. And I think that they're an up and down yo-yo kind of team. And now that's what I'm sort of how I'm feeling about them. So I'm not sure they can run 2 back-to-back weeks like they had last week. So, and it's in Calgary. Yes, it's in Calgary. So, yeah, I'll take Calgary.
Okay. In the end, it's going to come down to if VA is in there, and it certainly looks like he is. So I'm taking Calgary. I would struggle just because, unfortunately, Walker has looked completely lost. I don't think I could pick them to win a game with him in there right now. But with VA, and I agree with you, GT, Winnipeg's tends to be a bit streaky. They're not going to get a couple of touchdown returns against Calgary. Depending on what's happening in that Calgary backfield, they may do a bit better, but Calgary should still be strong against the run, and Winnipeg depends on the run to set up their passing game. So, yeah, I think I'll go Calgary. That leaves you, MJ. Final word of the week on these.
Yeah. So Winnipeg got their bell rung twice by Winnipeg badly. VA's missing.
You're going to regret that when you listen back.
I know.
You're going to regret that statement when you listen back. You just said Winnipeg got their bell rung badly by Winnipeg for 2 weeks.
Oh, no. Okay. So Winnipeg got their bell rung by Calgary. And Winnipeg did it to themselves,
There we go.
really.
Yes. Yeah, you were probably right the first time.
Yeah, maybe VA's missing a couple big receivers. Zach's back, but I don't know. They're not. Man, I was so mad because it's like Winnipeg's a machine just slotting new people into places and it just carries on, and they are not this year. They're not.
No.
Are they going to go 3 for 3 against Winnipeg? Or is Winnipeg going to at least eke out one on the season series? For chaos, I'll pick Winnipeg.
If it matters to anybody out there, besides Barnes coming back, they also show Alfred as limited in the first day of practice.
Wow.
So there's a possibility he might come back too, and I hope so. I was thinking about that. We talked about this the other 3 weeks ago. UGT said we're going to have him for a year and he's down to the NFL because he's that good. I think the only way that doesn't happen if he gets injury prone through the season.
Right.
If he's in and out a bunch, it might hurt him. If he can come back from this and just keep playing, he's a lock to go south.
Yeah, I think if he's available this week, it's not a bad way to be able to run both of those guys out back because they play the same position. Basically, he replaced Barnes when Barnes got injured. That's where, so that means they can just take it easy on both of them. Then neither of them have to play an entire game on their first game back type of thing. So that might work out okay too.
And I think that's about all of it. My voice is almost gone again. I don't know what's wrong with me this year. I can't. By the time I get through here, I got to go gargle salt water every show. But so let's wrap it up. Any closing thoughts and your social media for folks that want to follow your brilliant hot takes?
No closing thoughts, and it's at GT Barnum, at bluesky.social.net, whatever there is. Go, you guys figure it out.
Somebody posted online, asked a question. Were you alive when the Ticats won their last Grey Cup. Rude. If
It's
you
a valid
want,
question.
if you want to hear the musings of an old person, please join me on Blue Sky at Sports and Play.
Sure. Hey, I'm old enough I remember all of Saskatchewan's Grey Cup wins.
Yes, well, they didn't
I
win
was very
against
young
the
for the
Beachy
first one. I don't
Beachers.
actually remember the game, but I was alive when it happened.
Yes, and they lost to the Balmy Beach Beachers.
And I'm Old Man SAC on Blue Sky. The show is on Blue Sky and X both as the CFL Outsiders. And the show email is oldman, all one word, dot, shouting at clouds, all one word, at shaw.ca. And that's about it. We hope you have a great weekend watching the football. If you play the fantasy and the pick'em, good luck on that. We're all looking forward to the weekend, and we'll be back here next week, I guess, same time, same place. So until next week, the hell off my lawn. I managed to take out my mic on that.